We all long for maps. A map promises safety, promises clarity, promises the comfort of knowing where you are and where you're going. A map draws lines for you so you don't have to wonder. But here's the contradiction I've discovered. Maps give safety, yes, but they can also steal discovery. I know this because I spent years of my life waiting for maps that never came. I told myself that once the direction was clear, once the signs aligned, once the path was certain, then I would step forward. I believed that only mapped roads were worth walking, that only certainty could guarantee meaning. But as I waited, as I hesitated, whole years slipped by. My life wasn't wasted on wrong turns, it was wasted on waiting for a map that never appeared. The ache of it still lingers in me. How many choices I delayed, how many doors I left unopened, how many days I let them vanish because I was too afraid to risk the unmapped path. And so the question that drives this reflection is simple but piercing. What if no path is wasted, but waiting for certainty is? We are raised to believe that mapped equals safe, that mapped equals right. We are told to make plans, to follow steps, to outline goals, to secure a vision. We are taught that a map protects us from failure, but in truth, a map often protects us from living, because life's worth is not revealed in the safety of certainty. It is revealed in the detours, in the places where no map exists. I once missed a chance at adventure because I was waiting for certainty. A trip I had dreamed of for years, an open invitation to simply go, to explore, to see what might happen. But I sat at my desk, maps and brochures spread around me, researching endlessly, plotting routes, calculating costs. I told myself I was being responsible, careful, wise. But really I was afraid of the unmapped hours, the risks, the not knowing. And so I delayed. By the time I felt ready, the invitation had passed. The season was gone. The road I never walked still haunts me. And so I confess, I delayed choices until maps appeared, and I watched years vanish. There is a mountain road I sometimes drive, winding and foggy with no signs to tell you what lies ahead. At first, it used to unsettle me. The headlights cut only a few feet into the mist, the white lines vanishing into nothing. But over time I realized something profound. The fog is not the enemy. The road still exists even if I cannot see it mapped ahead. I don't need the whole picture to take the next curve. I only need to move forward one turn at a time. Life is like that. It doesn't come with a map. And maybe that's not a flaw. Maybe that's the point. Maps comfort, but courage walks without them. The lie we live by is that mapped equals better, that safety equals right, that if we cannot see the whole road, we shouldn't take the first step. We wait for certainty before we move. We wait for guarantees before we risk it. We wait for permission before we live. But the lie collapses in practice because life refuses to be mapped. No map could have told me how grief would change me. No map could have shown me the detours that became my deepest teachers. No map could have promised that the wrong turns were in fact the very roads I needed. Every time I tried to force life into a neat plan, it resisted. Every time I waited for perfect clarity, I only wasted more of the only thing I actually had: time. The lie says, if you step onto an unmapped road, you'll get lost. But here is the truth I've learned. Lost is how we discover. Think of the countless micro-behaviors we live out in our fear of the unmapped. We Google endlessly, searching for reviews, as if certainty could be purchased through information. We plan every minute of a holiday, afraid of wasting a single hour, only to return more exhausted than when we left. We hesitate at crossroads, paralyzed by the thought of choosing wrong, and so we choose nothing at all. We fill notebooks with pros and cons, waiting for some imagined clarity that never arrives. And while we wait, the days vanish. I know this paralysis well. I have lived in the limbo of what if, more than I care to admit. What if I choose wrong? What if I regret it? What if I waste my time? And so I waited. I stayed in jobs longer than I should have. I stayed in houses that had stopped feeling like home. I stayed in silence instead of speaking about what was burning in me, all because I thought a map would appear to guide me. But here's the detour I've come to see. There are no wasted paths. The only waste is waiting. The unmapped road is the honest one. It reveals itself only by walking it. The fear of wrong roads keeps us frozen, but the truth is wrong roads are still roads. They still take you somewhere. They still shape you. They still carry you forward. The counter-argument comes quickly. Without a map, I'll be lost, and I say, yes, you will. And that is the point, because lost is how we discover. Lost is how we stumble into the places we never would have planned, the people we never would have met, the insights we never would have reached. Lost is not failure. Lost is the teacher. So I say it again, with all of the weight of years behind it, waiting for certainty wastes life. Step into the unknown. That is where life waits. There is one memory I carry like a scar, not because of what I did, but because of what I didn't. It was the summer I was invited to travel with a group of friends along the coast. Nothing dramatic, no once-in-a-lifetime expedition, just a chance to see new places, to let the wind whip through our hair, to eat whatever we found by the roadside, to live without itinerary. I wanted to go, my heart longed for it, but I hesitated. I remember spreading brochures across my desk, tracing routes with my finger, calculating budgets down to the last coin. I sat with maps that promised certainty, safety, order, but every map seemed incomplete. What if we missed something important? What if we got lost? What if I wasted money on the wrong detour? What if the trip turned out to be meaningless? So I postponed it. Next summer, I told myself, when I've planned it better, when I know more, when I feel ready. But next summer never came. My friends went without me, their laughter captured in photographs I studied later, with a mix of envy and regret. The chance was gone, and in its place, silence. It wasn't the lost trip that haunted me. It was the realization of what I had done. I had traded discovery for the illusion of safety. I had sacrificed aliveness for a plan. I had waited for a map that never appeared. That same paralysis followed me in smaller ways. At job offers, where I delayed so long, the opportunities vanished. At crossroads in relationships, where I hesitated until words that needed to be spoken were left unsaid, and the person I longed to reach walked away. At moments of creativity, when ideas burned in me, but I told myself I wasn't ready, and by the time I was, the fire was gone. Each time I thought I was being cautious, each time I thought I was being wise, but in truth I was just afraid. Afraid of being lost, afraid of wasting time, afraid of regret. I see it now with painful clarity. The map I was waiting for was never going to arrive. And in waiting, I wasted more than time. I wasted life. The memory of that trip, the crumpled brochures, the unopened bag, the photographs of roads I never walked, remains one of my sharpest reminders. Not because the trip was extraordinary, but because my absence from it revealed a truth I can no longer ignore. Maps promise safety, but they steal discovery. Waiting for certainty wastes life. The more I live, the more I see that life itself is unmapped. We pretend otherwise. We draw calendars, we make 5-year plans, we outline steps and strategies. But the reality is that every road we walk bends into mystery the moment we take the first step. We are all driving through fog, headlights cutting only a few feet ahead. And maybe that is how it is meant to be. For so long, I believed the lie that I needed certainty before I moved. That if the road wasn't mapped, it wasn't safe. But the truth is, no map could ever reveal the road that mattered most, because those roads reveal themselves only by walking them. The unmapped path is the honest one. Think about the great turning points of your life. Did any of them arrive by plan? Did any of them unfold exactly as you mapped them? Or did they come disguised as detours? Wrong turns that turned out to be right, uncertainties that became revelations, moments of being lost that led you to discovery. We fear wrong roads, but wrong roads are still roads. They still carry us somewhere. They still carve us into who we are. What we call mistakes are often just teachers in disguise. What we call detours are often the actual path. Lost is not failure. Lost is how we learn. This is the philosophical turn that reshaped me. I used to think the unmapped path was dangerous. Now I see it is the only honest way to live. Because maps are always out of date. They freeze a world that has already changed. They give the illusion of control, but control is an illusion. Life will twist, bend, and surprise us no matter how detailed the map. The unmapped road is simply admitting the truth. We never really knew where we were going anyway. When I think of the river carving its own course, I see this truth embodied. The river does not follow a map. It does not consult directions. It flows, it bends, it yields to rocks, it reshapes itself around obstacles, and in doing so it carves valleys, nourishes land, creates beauty that no map could have predicted. Perhaps our lives are meant to be like that, to carve their own course, to find beauty not in certainty, but in discovery. I once thought being lost was the greatest danger. Now I see being frozen is worse. To stand still, waiting for a map that will never appear, is the only true waste. And so I turn the lie inside out. Waiting is what wastes us, not moving, not detours, not wrong turn. Waiting. Waiting for certainty, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to draw the road for us. The unmapped path is not something to fear. It is something to honor. Because the unmapped path is the one that is alive. The older I get, the more I see that courage is not found in grand gestures or dramatic leaps. Courage lives in the small decision to step forward when the way ahead is fogged. It is in the trembling hand that turns the key in the ignition, knowing only the first bend of the road will be lit. It is in the voice that finally says yes, not because the map is clear, but because the heart knows it cannot keep waiting. For too long, I lived in hesitation. I thought safety was found in certainty. I thought wisdom meant delaying until all the risks were calculated, all the roads charted. But wisdom, I've learned, often comes from walking into the unknown, from risking detours, from allowing myself to be lost long enough to discover. I used to pray for signs, for directions, for some guarantee that the choice I was about to make was the right one. Now I see the prayer was misguided. The right choice is rarely the one marked on a map. The right choice is often the one that terrifies you, the one without guarantees, the one that demands courage instead of certainty. And so I began to shift, slowly, haltingly. I started saying yes to roads even when they were unmapped. I began taking steps without knowing where they would lead. At first it was small, agreeing to conversations I might have once avoided, pursuing ideas before I knew if they would succeed, driving roads I had never taken just to see where they ended. And each time, something opened. Not always success, not always ease, but always something real, something alive. I discovered that the unmapped path is not empty. It is full of lessons, full of encounters, full of revelations that no map could ever have predicted. And so I ask you now, where are you still waiting for a map that may never come? Where in your life are you frozen, telling yourself that you will move when things are certain, when you have more clarity, when the path is drawn? And what would it look like to take a step anyway? Because the truth is this: no path is wasted. The only wasted thing is waiting. If I could speak to my younger self, the one sitting at his desk surrounded by brochures, too afraid to take that summer trip, I would tell him, go, stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop demanding a map, just go, you will get lost. And in being lost, you will find something you could not have imagined. And so I say it now to you: do not waste your life waiting for certainty. Take the unmapped path. Step into the fog. Move even if you can only see one turn ahead. Because life is not found in the safety of maps. Life is waiting in the unknown. Maps comfort. But courage walks without them. I once delayed choices until maps appeared, and I watched years vanish. I thought waiting for certainty would save me from regret. But regret came anyway, not from wrong turns, but from the turns I never took. I know now that being lost is not the danger I once believed it was. Being frozen is worse. Waiting for clarity, waiting for safety, waiting for a map. That is how life dissolves. So here is the truth I offer, carved into me by regret and redeemed by discovery. No map is still a road. The path reveals itself by walking. What we call detours are often the way. What we call mistakes are often our teachers. Lost is not failure. Lost is how we learn. And so I bless the fog. I bless the uncertainty. I bless the roads that bend into mystery, because those are the roads that have made me. Step into the unknown. That is where life waits. If you are standing at a crossroads tonight, paralyzed by fear, longing for a map that will never arrive, hear this: you are already holding enough. You don't need the whole road to take the first step. You don't need certainty to be alive. You need courage. And courage is born in motion. The headlights only cut a few feet ahead. The fog still lingers. But the road is real. and it will reveal itself as you walk it. So don't wait, don't hesitate, don't waste your days demanding a map for a life that was never meant to be mapped. Take the turn. Step into the unknown. That is where life waits.